We're here at SHOT Show 2018 with Gunwerks. We have a very familiar face here, Scott Satterlee, and of course another very familiar face, Kalen Wojcik. Really appreciate you spending time with us. Now Scott, you've recently come to work for Gunwerks.
Correct.
And I know you probably had a lot of choices, but there's a reason, I understand, that you decided to align yourself with Gunwerks.
Yeah, so you know the story. I was retired for 18 months. I didn't really need to work, but I decided I wanted to get out of the house and do more. So I saw Kalen got picked up by Gunwerks, and I've always wanted to work with Kalen. I want to train people to shoot, and this is going to give me an opportunity to do that. Now, outside of, I'm still friends with the guys at Core Shooting Solutions. Those guys are great friends, Brian Morgan and Josh, those guys. But this is going to allow for a little bit more exposure. And then I was super happy with, when I came out to do the interview, I got to hang out with Aaron, and I really got to see the heart of Gunwerks, which is a customer-first approach from the whole end, from the buying experience to the training experience. There isn't a single gun company out there that's doing the same thing. It's just from flash to bang, cradle to grave. Gunwerks is there for the customer, and they really do a good job taking care of the customer. And that's, for me, you know me, I'm all about the people I work with and how they're treated. You know, so.
Yeah, and it just strikes me as the full shooter life cycle experience, everything from getting the right rifle to the right training. I think you're talking about just the level of customer service has really impressed you.
It's incredible. Anyway, I was driving along with Aaron. We were coming back from the range, and a guy called me and said, "Hey, I got my Dall sheep in Alaska, but my rifle took a dump down the side of a mountain. It's in 15 pieces." And Aaron's like, "Just send it to us, we'll fix it." I was like, "Well, how much is that going to cost?" He's like, "Just send it to us, we're going to fix it." I was like, "Okay, I'm sold. I want to buy a Gunwerks rifle." And then, you know, the value to Gunwerks in that rifle is, it's, you've got basic components. You've got a stock, you've got an action, you've got a barrel, you've got a scope, you got your scope interface and your rings. Everybody's got that stuff. So what makes it different is the rifle is shot, it's broken, it's group tested, 7 shots in 7 minutes, and we have an accuracy standard. And then it's velocity calibrated, and then the BC's calibrated before it ever goes back in the box. I mean, the cost of that for you and I to do it with, you know, we could buy all the components, put the gun together ourselves, think we're saving money, and then we have to go out and buy a $800 lab radar. We got to buy 50 different kinds of bullets to see which one shoots best. We got to buy 5 different powders, and then we got to spend 3 weeks reloading to figure out what that's already done for you.
I mean, it strikes me there's a real value proposition here for somebody who might be really busy. You know, maybe, they're a successful professional, but now they've got the disposable income to get into the sport, but maybe not the time to just try and bump around and figure. I mean, this is like the one-stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a one-stop shop. Not only just the time, but the frustration. I mean,
right.
How many guys out there have been like, "Man, I can't get this rifle to shoot. I can't get this bullet to shoot. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's my reloading. I don't know if it's the scope." I mean, it's just the frustration factor in there. And when you buy a gun, one of these guns, it comes in a box. You take it out, you shoot it. It's going to hammer you. You know, that's just the bottom line.
Now, so let's pivot a bit to training. And I know, Kalen, that is you are laser focused on that. I believe you're the director of training.
Yeah, director of training and business development.
So let's talk about that. Let's peel back the onion on the training, what's available.
Sure. So for 10 years, Gunwerks has been doing long-range training, and that's progressed over the years. Aaron is a very analytical individual with an engineering background. He's very focused on the science of long-range shooting. And as we all know, that there's 2 aspects of long-range shooting. There's the science, and then there's the art. The science is, that's something that we can put our finger on, right? We can precisely calibrate where a bullet's going to be in time and space, or we can precisely predict where it's going to be in time and space. But the art form of it is how the shooter interfaces with the rifle, how the shooter applies the fundamentals of marksmanship, how consistently they can do that under a wide variety of circumstances, and then be able to read and interpret the environmental conditions to put the bullet exactly where it needs to be. So the training program is very focused on that from Aaron's influence, and we're going to continue to keep that because that's a very important piece to the puzzle that the customer has to understand. But we're going to implement, Scott and I are going to implement more fundamental shooting practice, if you will, creating a shooter that can not only understand the science of it, but also understands the importance of applying all those fundamentals of marksmanship consistently to develop consistency downrange. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of revamp, we have revamped the training program, but we've kind of broken it up into two different sections. We've got a hunting program, and then Scott, I shoot competition, but not nearly as much as Scott does. And his expertise in that area is going to help us develop the competitive shooting program. So we're going to have hunting level 1 through 3, and then a competitive program level 1 through 3. And also each of those two programs are going to have experiences. And those experiences are going to revolve around bringing all those skills together and applying those skills in practical scenarios, some of which are going to be on the hunting side, live hunts, and on the competitive side, the ability to train for 4 days and then go right into a shooting match, completely tuned up, ready to go, and then have the ability to apply all that you've learned while it's fresh in your mind and under tutelage of the instructor staff that we have.
So the competitive shooting training is probably what would be very relevant to our audience.
I think so, yes.
So let's talk a bit about how they would find out more about that training, some of the costs associated with that training.
So Gunwerks.com, Long Range University on the training. We've got all the descriptions of the two courses in place, or the two areas of training in place. And the one thing that I definitely want to mention for both crowds is that what we're trying to create is a shooter that has the ability to perform in the field, whether that's from a hunting perspective or a competitive perspective, that understands how to manage their equipment properly to be just more effective. Because even if we're hunting, a hunter, when that moment arrives, that moment we don't choose that moment in most scenarios. That moment chooses us. So we have to be ready for that. And in order for us to do that, I think from a hunting perspective, a hunter can go a long ways training for competition, because we all know that in a competitive mindset or a competitive aspect, it's all about effectively managing your time and effectively managing your equipment, building a solid, stable position, given the circumstances you have, and that's hunting, guys.
And so it sounds to me that both offerings, be it hunting or the competitive shooting, that it's not like they're solidly bifurcated. It sounds like if you want to major, so to speak, in competitive shooting, you're going to get some skills that are going to help with hunting and vice versa. Yeah, the two disciplines, they transcend. I mean, they intertwine, and the goal is to create a continuum, right? Okay. So if a guy that goes through the hunting program, he hits level 3 and he's like, all right, man, what's next? Okay, what's next is you go into the competitive aspect of things. Okay. You receive the tutelage from Scott, from his expertise, and say, hey, this is how you fine-tune all of your equipment management. This is how you fine-tune your mindset. This is how you fine-tune all of these other skills that you learned over here to make you a more effective hunter. And there's a lot of controversy on long-range hunting in terms of ethics, what's acceptable and what's not. And this is all about creating a hunter that's responsible, ethical, and understands their limitations. So it sounds to me that somebody could benefit probably taking both or all the courses. Okay.
Also, one of the things associated with the cost of our courses is it's already built into the cost is gun rental and ammo.
Oh, so you just need to show up?
You just need to show up with a good attitude, and we got you covered.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we really appreciate you spending time with our audience.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like, you've just got a plethora of options. So folks, just go to the Gunwerks site, gunwerks.com.
Gunwerks.com.
And check it out. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure,
really
Ed.
appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ed.
Good seeing you again.
See you guys again.